Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's October 8th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and it's a crazy day today. In the big picture, this is a trading range, and most of the resistance was right across here, as you can see, and that's kind of where um, the gap would have been on the chart from where we closed versus where we opened today. So right in here is about where the gap was. And we obviously filled that earlier, so once we started lower, it wasn't really a big surprise since we did fill the gap. I would have measured this leg and looked for a measure that we got much more than that, by the way, but you can see we went a little bit further, but we just kind of went sideways for a while, and then we rallied it all back and ended up almost unchanged, basically. So, but in the big scheme of things, this is a large trading range with a big move down and a big move up. We did get outside the overnight highs and lows, but notice that this made the low, and then we just couldn't break that support area right across there. Again, we maybe broke lower a few times, but we spent most of the time in this, I would call it a mid-range of about 2870, 2871 before they finally gave up trying to take it lower, and then it went higher. Market that can't go lower is going to go higher, and vice versa. When it can't go any higher, eventually it's going to go lower. So, but this was an interesting day. There weren't any news items or anything really because of the federal holiday, so nothing crazy to set the markets off. But you can see there was that measured leg, and then this, and then we would look for at least measured one down, and we went a little bit further than that. This thing really sold off strongly right down through here, and there wasn't really much way to get in this if you didn't get in somewhere up here. So, and then of course we're just going sideways down here. This is just a trading tighter range, and then a nice rally back up. So we'll back out and talk about the trades. Fairly decent trading day, really, considering when we first came in, I thought, well, even though this is not really a trading holiday with the federal holiday, there's probably not going to be much happening, but boy, was I wrong. So that's why we come in, because you never know. But let's talk about the trades. Early on, you can see this clear channel here. We had a break, moved to a new low, and then we reversed. So the 7 o'clock hour was right in this area coming up right here. But notice you got this short-term channel. You get a close, you get a break, move to a new high, and then on coming down, you get a close outside, move to a new low. So we were really looking, I mean, that's a fairly big move down, so I would also look for a measured move right here. I'd measure it there, and then I would also measure it from here to here, but regardless, either way, and you might even measure it from here too. We don't get that on any of them, and what that tells you, when you don't get anywhere near and you start trending the other way, means you're probably going to have a pretty good move up. And so this little trend up lasted for a little bit, but then we got to close outside, move to a new high, and off it goes to the other side. But let's go back here. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, we're working down. You get the close outside. This short-term trend line is played out. Notice it's a nice little tight trend working up. You get a close outside, move to a new high. Now we're ready. Now this little rally is over, and we're probably going to push for a new low. You don't know how far it's going to go, so you really want a pretty good setup before you consider continuing going low or going short once the new low's in. So, but notice that new high, we fall right through the MMA, pull back, get a lower high with a big bearish bar, go short there, looking for it to make a new low. And if you did go short there, you can ride this on down. Quick, easy scalp out of that one. And you get a runner there too. Notice the failed second entry long there. And that's the first break of this trend line right here. It's a little close to the lows, but that's been pretty strong, and we may get another leg down. So with it being a failed second entry long that didn't go more than a tick higher, I felt it was probably worth taking. I marked that one. Then it comes back and it gives you another little quick failure and a big bearish bar. I think it's starting to get risky now, because now you've got your new low in, and I like this one just because it was a trap. It being right there that close to the low, that's always dangerous. It's always a question mark. But it is a little breakout pullback short. When we broke through there, we pulled back to test it. And that's just another little pullback to test it again. And this one's a lot more risky. A lot more risky. Excuse me. This one's a little bit more risky, so I'd probably stay clear of that one. You got a new low here, and you're a little bit away from the EMA, but I'd probably wait on the higher low, which doesn't come till here. And because we don't have anything near a measured leg down yet, and so it's just a little bit, this is a long way away from the EMA. So, if you want to be a little bit aggressive, you might go for that one. I think you're better off to wait. We get a higher low here, but it's right into a double top, right into the EMA. And then we finally push on through, pull back, and get your reversal right there. That's not a very good signal bar, but on a reversal, it doesn't matter. The only reason I really kind of didn't mark this one blue is because it's really the first touch of that trend line. And also, you're going sideways here. And you can see you got some matching highs across here and across here. So I was a little leery of that one. You can see those bars stacking up. This is one of those I felt like you're better off to see if it'll pull back and give you a little breakout pullback, which it does right here. So when it broke above right there, you could go long. And this did confirm the trend line. And that's a pretty nice signal bar there. It's an inside bar to that one, but that one's more bullish as well. So your stop still has to go below this bar. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Your stop has to go below that bar right there, but the entry point, you're really kind of combining those two bars. So by this time, it looks like we're probably going higher. And it comes back right here, but it's just too big a bar, too close to the highs. It would have worked, but I think it's a little bit too risky. And then we're just kind of going sideways till we get a close outside. There's no real setup here that I like that's worth taking inside that little trading range. And then you get a close outside, move to a new high. We make a double top. That one's really tempting. It kind of gaps up, so going short there is a little bit questionable because it may back up and fill that gap and push up and break above here and run the stops and turn back down. So I was a little leery of it. Felt like it's better to wait on the reversal pattern, which comes right here. Notice how we push through real strongly, pull back, and you get your failed second entry long. You get a third touch of that trend line. That's the place to go short. Look how it takes off there. Then you come 2 legs back. Even though you went a little bit lower there, that's still 2 legs back to the trend line, the EMA. This is not a very good signal bar, but this is close enough. With that being right at the trend line, I'd go short right there. Of course, your stop still has to go above that one. It's not often you want to use the bar next to the real signal bar, but this is one of those cases where it's a little failed breakout. It's right off the trend line, and it tried to go higher again. Notice how it opened right there, and it touches that trend line, and notice how it's closed inside the trend line, touches the EMA. Big bearish bar right off the key entry point. Failed break higher. I like that one. It turns out to be a pretty nice move down. And we're kind of going south. This is like a little repeat pattern. It almost does the same thing. You're going sideways, you fell higher. You're going sideways, you fell higher. It's right off the trend line the whole bit. Once it broke, when it broke below this bar, you would have gone short, but your stop still has to go up here. And off it goes again. And this is a huge move. And you wouldn't have got any other opportunity to enter that. There's no, of course, it comes back to this short-term trend line several times. But I don't, you look how far we're getting away from the EMA and how long we've been away as we keep going. Eventually it's coming back, and you just don't know when that's going to be. So it does push, gap over the EMA there and pull back, but that's not a very good signal bar. And again, we've just been away from the EMA. I just think you really needed to be into, and every one of these would have got a runner. And so you could have had a runner here entering on these safer trades. It does get a break there, move to a new low, and then on this short-term trend line, and then we're rallying again. And notice how it's moving up. You get a close outside, move to a new high. So there's a second entry short right. Actually, it's not a second entry short because you actually go short once and then twice right there. But on a bigger picture, that would have been a second entry short, and it would have worked. But I don't think it was worth taking. Um, I think you want to wait. It's right there at the key entry point as well. So there's some reasons to like that one. It probably should be green. I'll mark it green. But I was just a little leery of it, with it being a first entry, really, because that's really a first entry. On a bigger picture, it's a second entry, but it is at the key entry point. But look how flat the EMA is getting right there. Um, it would have worked. It tries to go higher, but then you get a double test. Notice you had that high. You tested it once. You tested it twice. Big bearish bar. You do have room to get out now, so I like that one. Comes back and tests it again. Gives you another big bearish bar. I marked this one green because there's not a lot of room there, although there's just enough to get out. And as long as you get in that one with enough room to get out before getting down here. But notice how we bounced a little bit higher there. So this thing is kind of tightening up. And this probably would have been way up here by now. And that's what makes me nervous about that one. But you could almost argue that for this double test as well, too. So if you're going to take this one, you might want to say, hey, I'll take that one too. It's about the same entry, really. And then it bounces here. And normally I would have made this one blue because notice how you got this low right here. You test it once, you test it twice. I didn't mark it blue because it's not a perfect signal bar. One more tick lower, it would have been a doji, but it is more bullish than it is neutral at this point. So as long as you got enough room to get out between entering here and up here, you might take that one. You might have used a limit order if you had, if you'd got a little better entry and given yourself some more room. It didn't matter, but you don't know that ahead of time. So notice how it's moving up, and you actually get a close outside and you turn down. You're a little, and this is a little, that's your first break higher, so it's probably going to fail. It is a second entry. The reason I didn't mark this one blue is because that's the first real convincing close, so it could tick down there and then turn up and then turn down, but it doesn't. It comes right on back to the EMA. It's just a failed break higher, so you might want to take that one regardless. It did break higher first and turn down, and then notice what happens. First entry, pull back, second entry, and you get a failed. When it broke below right there, you got a failed second entry long on a breakout. So I like that one. And you're still looking for the new low here as well. It's the first real close outside, and I don't think we quite got a new low. I think it just made a double bottom. I didn't even make a double bottom. You can see there's where the new low is right there, and so we missed a new low by a tick or so there. So we still don't have a new low in place, but it's a failure out the low side now, and we've moved a good bit and we're way away from the EMA. So you may want to risk entering right there just to see if it comes back, and you may get lucky and catch an important low. And guess what? You would have, although it did come back and get the break even stop, so you really wouldn't have got that big runner right there. But that still would have been a nice move back up to those highs. And it comes back again, and it's just kind of moving along here. I don't see anything. You might consider going long right there. But again, it's kind of right in the middle of the range. That's where you got to be careful. It's something to consider. Again, it could probably be green. But I would wait here. I would wait here to see if you get a reversal pattern. And notice there's your first entry, your second entry. It bounces right off the EMA. It actually goes lower first, turns, it goes out the other side. I'd go long right there. And if you did that, you would have caught a runner on this one. If you waited to above that bar, then you're getting back up into the highs. You probably wouldn't have caught a runner because it comes back enough to probably get you there. Then it runs up. It's kind of going sideways. You get a little failed break lower, a bounce right off the key entry point, the EMA. It's a failed breakout. It's not a great signal bar though, so I just made it green. it's still not a lot of indication that we're going higher here yet. So it does take off. It does fit the rules. It's a little bit aggressive though. And of course we're moving up. We get a little overshoot. Pull back first entry. Pull back second entry with a nice bullish bar. That's a second entry long. It's not quite back to the trend line or EMA. And we did get an overshoot. So it's a little bit concerning, but this thing is starting to like a strong move up now. So I kind of like entering there. You come back here and you do bounce off the trend line, but now you got a double top. It's right. You don't have much room to get out. Wait and see if you get a reversal pattern, which you do here. You get that failed second entry short. Again, it bounces right off the key entry point. But again, we still haven't gone higher, so I'm a little bit leery of it. So I only marked it green, but it is a failed second entry short. Notice you got those three matching lows. You get that one tick lower, so it's basically a new swing low right there. First entry, second entry. It's just not ideal. It's not really, you're not back to the EMA. You're not really back to the trend line. Actually, you do come back to the trend line here, but you're not back to the EMA. So I'm a little bit leery of it, but notice how it pushes up. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and right off that trend line again. Nice little bullish bar. I like going long right there. And of course, it doesn't take off immediately. It just kind of keeps creeping up, but it does push on up. And actually, if you saw this trend line, you probably would have had your other line up here at that point, but still, regardless of where you had this midline here, you probably would have wanted to get a measured move, and you didn't quite have it here. So that was another reason to think we might push up a little higher, and that's why I kind of like that one. And that got you into the 2 o'clock hour. I don't see anything else in here that was worth fooling with. There's actually a second entry long here. Notice how it comes back. First entry, pull back, and it actually breaks lower and then goes out the upside. So there was a second entry right there, right at the 2 o'clock hour, and that would have been probably a nice entry to take. So if you did take that one right at the 2 o'clock hour, I wouldn't have any problem with it, and it would definitely be a blue one. So that's a pretty nice little short trap right there that turns back up. You do have to consider that we came off that top right there, but notice that you got that trend line working up, and that's a really strong trend, and that's the first break, and it's a second entry, so we're probably going to push up there and make a new high. And you may get two legs, which notice you got two legs, and then you got another leg before we actually started kind of going sideways again. So there were a lot of trades today, fairly straightforward. And, you know, there's a couple more in there you could probably argue for to be green, but, you know, I think they're just a little bit aggressive. So what you see here is what I liked based on my chart. If your chart was a little different, there might be something there. There's several green ones in here today, but there's still plenty of red and blue. I mean, really, you could have been done early today, which is what I like to do, and then you don't have to worry about this afternoon stuff. But there's some nice moves over here in the afternoon, and some people can only trade the afternoon. So, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But kind of interesting the type day we had, considering it was a holiday. So, but if the market's not closed, people are going to be trading. So, you know, it's just those short holiday days where most people take off. So I don't think the next trade holiday is till Thanksgiving, maybe something like that. So anyway, we've got 20 minutes worth here. I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you had a good trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.